Hey, hey, hey. Time for the Out of This World story from our space. They say what happens on girls' nights stays on girls' nights. But apparently, no one told Vanessa. Today on our space, we're skipping the cocktails and serving up the tea. Extra hot, no filter. Wife threw away 10 years of marriage for some thug at a bar. I made sure she regretted it. This is so silly that I'm almost embarrassed to post about it. The only reason I even feel like I could go ahead and to actually share this is because a friend of mine insisted that my pain is valid. It's weird when something life-changing happens and you feel like you can't even tell anyone because they'll think it's a bad joke. But the truth is, it's no laughing matter. My 36 male wife, Vanessa, 35 female, of 10 years, threw away our marriage over the stupidest thing. When I found out about it, I couldn't believe it. One of her closest friends, Maria, was the one who told me about what was going on. I was surprised that she was the one who snitched on her own friend, but I still appreciate it more than anything because it shows that she couldn't stick around and let something bad happen. Some background about my marriage. Like I mentioned, we've been married for 10 years. We met in college, dated for a few years, and got married a little while after graduation. But we built a good life together, with a house, a dog, and 2 beautiful kids, Nathan, 7 male, and Alicia, 4 female. They're both good kids. Nathan is a bit of a handful sometimes, but it is just because he has high energy. We had him playing sports and that seemed to even him out a lot of the time. He was pretty good at it too. We always called Alicia Vanessa's shadow because she was always following her around. She idolized her mom completely and wanted to do everything she did. It was always pretty sweet to watch. From the outside, we looked like a perfect family. Sure, anyone who knows anything will know that 2 kids, bills, and parents who are slowly aging will test the bonds of any family, but we always seemed like nothing could break us apart. The problem started with Vanessa and her group of friends. They were all married with children too, and all around the same age. I knew them all well. We'd had them all over for dinner multiple times, and I was even friends with some of their husbands. They get together a few times a week, sometimes just to chat in one of their houses, and other times to go out and get some drinks together. I never thought anything of it. I mean, anyone needs to blow off steam once in a while. Raising 2 kids and maintaining a home is no joke. We both worked hard. I also went out with friends once in a while, and I knew where she was. She always updated me on her location, and it was easy enough to verify if she was actually out with her friends by asking any of their husbands. I never suspected a thing. Then I got a call from Maria. She was one of my wife's friends, and I knew her husband pretty well, though I wouldn't quite say we were friends. Maria and I never really talked much, which is why it was surprising when I got a call from her. I was scared when she introduced herself because the only reason I could think of why she was calling me was because something might have happened to my wife. She explained that she got my number from her husband's phone, and he didn't even know that she was calling me. She said she had something important to tell me. She was nervous and told me that she wasn't even sure if she should tell me what she was about to say. I was curious, and I wasn't going to let her back out of after saying something like that, so I gently pressed her to tell me. She kept hesitating, saying things like, "I don't want to ruin things," and "I don't know how to say this." I was getting impatient, but I tried to stay calm and gently told her to be honest. I told her that whatever it was, she didn't deserve to have it weighing on her. Then she dropped it. Once she did, I kind of wish she hadn't. Apparently, Vanessa had been taking little side trips on her own whenever all the girls went out. She told me that the others were uncomfortable with it as well, but none of them had wanted to say anything because they didn't want to get involved in anything messy. There were thousands of thoughts going through my mind at the same time. Maria's voice was shaking as she spoke to me, and I knew she must have been telling the truth. I didn't see any reason she would lie about it. I stayed calm and asked her to explain what she meant by side trips. I already had an idea, but I needed to hear her say it. She went on to explain that Vanessa would disappear while they were having drinks, sometimes for as long as an hour or 2. At first, they didn't know where she was going, and she wouldn't tell them, though they had suspicions. Eventually, 2 of them decided to follow her one night, and they saw her getting into a car with a guy and driving away. Maria told me that she'd even seen it herself once. She'd followed Vanessa out one night because she found the claims hard to believe. She'd seen Vanessa meet up with a younger guy beside his car. They started kissing and feeling each other up, as if she didn't have a husband and 2 kids at home. When they were done making out, they got in the car and drove off to wherever. She said that she decided she had to tell me as soon as she saw that. The others didn't have the guts to say it to me, but she had decided she wouldn't be able to live with that kind of secret. I deserved to know. Hearing it all laid out like that completely broke me. I'd never seriously suspected her. I'd had some casual what-if thoughts about whether she was cheating on me, but I always felt reassured by the fact that I knew her friend group so closely. I knew they wouldn't encourage her to cheat, but with the exception of Maria, they had all turned a blind eye to it. Maria was the only one who had bothered to risk her friendship to come and talk to me. I thanked her for coming to talk to me and assured her that I wasn't mad at her. I appreciated the fact that she was the only one who had the guts to do the right thing. After I got off the phone with her, I sat alone for a while, just thinking. The idea that my relationship was a lie was depressing enough, but I felt a special sort of pain when I thought of the kids. If this was all true, then Vanessa and I would have to split up, and I can only imagine what that would put the kids through. I had a few friends who came from broken homes, and although they turned out all right, their childhood years had been rough in ways I couldn't relate to. I didn't want that for my kids, but I knew I couldn't keep them in a loveless home either. That was just as bad, if not even worse. I didn't tell Vanessa about Maria's call. I pretended I knew nothing, but I'm already forming a plan to catch her in the act. Since I know where she meets up with her partner, I was thinking of going down there in person to catch her red-handed. Then she'd have no way of denying it. Has anyone here tried anything like that before? How did it go for you? Is there anything I need to consider? Maria definitely deserves some credit here. It takes guts to go against your own friend like that, especially knowing it could blow up a whole social circle. The rest of them turning a blind eye is disappointing, but at least one person had the decency to come forward. Update 1. Thanks all for the support on my original post. You were right when you said I wasn't thinking straight. Confronting the affair partner and the cheating wife has worked for some people in the past, but it's not a good idea in a dark parking lot when I know nothing about the guy. He could be armed or some gangster for all I know. I took your advice and got a PI instead. He'd have more experience in handling this kind of thing safely. Plus, I'd get hard evidence, and there was always the chance that he would uncover something else that I had no clue about. It wasn't cheap, but I dipped into my personal savings to make it happen. In the end, it was more than worth it. He got back to me less than 2 weeks later, and he had a lot to show for his efforts. There were stacks of photos. She wasn't just meeting him on girls' nights. He caught her cutting gym sessions short to drive off with him, even once meeting him in a cheap motel. The PI had also managed to identify the guy. This is where I realized that I'd made the right choice to everyone's advice in getting a PI. I never would have been able to identify him myself, but more importantly, he really was dangerous. He was 26-year-old and had a criminal record as long as my arm. He had multiple arrests for violent crimes, though many of them ended up without convictions. That might make him innocent in the eyes of the law, but to me, it was suspicious. No law-abiding citizen ends up arrested multiple times for assault and the like. It was obvious to me that she was living out some bad boy fantasy, as if she was a teenage girl who didn't have adult responsibilities, and she was doing it at the expense of our family. It was even more so at the expense of our family since she was doing all of this with someone who had violent tendencies. I still didn't confront her right away. I immediately started looking for a divorce lawyer. I filed for divorce the same day. I didn't want to waste any more time. Finding out who her affair partner was had just made things so much worse. This wasn't a man I wanted around my kids. I especially didn't want him anywhere near my daughter. When the lawyer asked what I wanted in terms of custody, I told him I was planning on filing for full custody. I explained my reasoning. He didn't even hesitate. He said this guy would be a liability because family court prioritizes the safety of children, especially young children, over everything else. He said full custody would be a hard sell, but I had a good case for primary custody. That was all I wanted to hear. While I waited for the papers to be ready, Vanessa kept sneaking away on her nights out. I wasn't even angry at her anymore. My only focus was making sure the kids were protected throughout all of this. When it was time to serve her, I sat her down in the kitchen. The kids were playing outside, and they wouldn't be coming in for a while. I threw an envelope across the table to her. It contained everything that I discovered about her affair. She showed excitement and opened it slowly, like she was expecting plane tickets for an expensive vacation or something. Instead, her face dropped when she saw the first photo. She didn't say anything while she went through all the photos. Maybe she was looking for a way to deny them, but that wouldn't be possible. The pictures were way too clear. I don't know what kind of camera the PI used, but it was something high-end. Even though they were zoomed, some of the pictures looked like they were taken from right outside the car window. I could even see the mole on Vanessa's cheek. The first thing she said was, "You hired someone to spy on me?" I didn't let her turn it on me. I said, "Yes, I did." I told her we could put me on trial for that after we discussed her affair. She just said she couldn't believe I would go that far. That pissed me off, and I wanted to yell at her, but I didn't want the kids to hear. I lowered my voice and growled that she didn't get to act like a victim. I told her we'd all trusted her, but she'd betrayed that trust. So she couldn't complain when she got tailed by an investigator because that was more than what she deserved. She betrayed my trust first, so she needed to stop acting as if it was a big deal for me to do that after the fact. If not for the kids, I would have just thrown her butt out onto the street where she belonged. When she saw that I wasn't going to let her flip herself into the victim, she started crying. She said she didn't want it to happen like this. That just seemed like another tactic that could potentially get me to feel for her. She started explaining the story on how she met him one night at a bar and they'd gotten attached to each other. I asked if she'd ever thought of her kids while she was shacking up with a dangerous man. She insisted that he was a gentleman and the authorities just had it out for him. I wasn't interested in hearing whatever justification she made for him. She asked me, what are we going to do now? She was still looking down at the photos. I told her we were getting a divorce. I was also going to fight her for custody of the children because I wanted to protect them from her new boyfriend. Now she stood up like she wanted to fight me. She said I couldn't take her kids away from her. I told her that it was up to the judge to decide, but I would do my best. We argued about that for a little while, and when she saw that I wasn't going to give in, she started pleading with me. She said the kids deserved to have a mother in their lives. I said they deserved to have a mother who put their safety above her own pleasure. I didn't leave the house after that, and neither did she. I wasn't going to leave my children alone with her so she could start bringing that man into our home. I may not love her anymore, but my main priority is ensuring that my kids are always safe, no matter what, even if that means living with my soon-to-be ex-wife. Update 2. Here's hopefully a final update to bring you all up to speed on what's been going on with me and my divorce. It's been a rough few months, but I can finally say it's over. The divorce dragged on for a long time. It was ugly, draining, and very expensive, but I didn't want to leave anything to chance. We fought her with every bit of evidence we had to make sure I got custody. I'm proud to announce that I was given primary custody of the children. The judge didn't like the fact that she'd brought a known felon into their lives without informing me about it. He said it set a bad precedent for decision-making she would perform if she were given custody. She was given supervised visits at first, with the possibility of unsupervised visits later on. She's not satisfied with that, and she's already getting ready to appeal the court's decision. I'm ready to go back into court with her again. I'd fight her through 1,000 appeals to keep my kids safe. The real victims in all this were the kids. Vanessa tried to use them to play with my emotions more than once. Alicia cried often about the fact that we didn't live together anymore, and Vanessa would try to convince me to let us move back in together so the kids wouldn't struggle. I never seriously considered that, but I felt guilty about it often. Nathan handled it a bit better, but he was still too young to fully understand what was going on. We told him that we had differences and a disagreement that meant we couldn't live together anymore. He often tried to ask me why we couldn't just talk it out. Like I made him do whenever he had a fight with his sister. I tried to tell him the truth as gently as I could. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes that hurt others, and things couldn't always be fixed. But I couldn't figure out the right words to really make it stick. One thing I wouldn't do is badmouth Vanessa to him. I didn't have any love left for her, but he still loved his mom, and it could mess him up if I tried to poison his mind against her. I'd let them know the truth of the matter when they were old enough to handle it. What really helped with the kids was therapy. I started taking both kids to family counseling once the divorce was over. The therapist was great at helping them process their feelings and gave them space to ask any questions they had. We started noticing results within a few weeks. The kids were no longer quiet and mopey, and Alicia no longer cried every morning when it was time to go to school. The therapist also did some one-on-one work with me to help me be a better support for the two of them. It was overwhelming being the primary guardian and having to provide for them at the same time. Along with the resentment for the divorce, it was a struggle not to let any of those negative feelings get through to the kids. Therapy gave me the tools I needed to deal with that. Vanessa was the only one who wasn't handling the new situation well. I didn't talk to her much outside of the typical co-parenting matters, but her social media was full of posts about how happy she and her new man were. There were over-filtered pictures with corny captions about second chances and finding love again after being hurt. I cringed just looking at them. I was embarrassed that I ever used to be in love with this woman. It was clear that all of that was just because she was trying to make me jealous and make it seem like I had made a mistake letting her go. Recently, she hadn't posted any pictures of the two of them together. Her most recent posts are just text on a colored background talking about how healing is a personal journey. Nobody has told me anything, but I'd put money on it that her and her thug aren't together anymore. It's not like I wanted the relationship to succeed or anything, but it pissed me off. She'd thrown away 10 years of our lives together for a relationship that couldn't even make it half a year. It felt like a waste, but it had also opened the way for me to build a better life for myself and the kids. Vanessa's appeal is still pending, and I know there's a long road ahead of me before I can fully consider the children my own. In the meantime, I'm sticking close by them and doing whatever I can to protect the kids. That's my number one job after all. Massive respect for you, how you talk to your kids about everything. You didn't sugarcoat it, but you didn't dump it all on them either. As for your ex's healing journey posts, yeah, classic. Going from soulmate selfies to vague inspirational quotes is usually a sign things have gone sideways. Honestly, it just makes her choices look even more ridiculous. She blew up her whole life for a guy who couldn't even make it 6 months. And now, you're the one building something solid with your kids. What would you do if your partner kept disappearing on girls' night and you found out they were hiding something? Would you confront them yourself or bring in some backup? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today on Our Space. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time.